Wednesday. IG, good to see y'all this evening. Thank you for returning this Wednesday, even though I chose to not be on last Wednesday. Gypsy's Eyes, good to see you. Miss Crawford. Juan, where have you been, Sir Juan? Where have you been? I've been looking for you, you know. So listen, you guys, this is about y'all tonight. This is your thing. Mr. Cooper, good to see you. There she is. Guapo mama. Good to see you. It's good to see you after the Bloods. How you doing? So listen, y'all, I'm tired today. So, a lot of healing went on today. Hello there. So I'm going to let y'all run this show, right? Tonight is about y'all. Tonight is about any and everything that you all want to talk about or ask about. Oh, Juan, you were in the masterclass last week, but you didn't say hi? Okay. Well, at least we stay connected. Edna Crocker, good to see you too. All right, you guys, what do y'all want to talk about? Ask me any question. Hold on one second. I have this little puppy who loves to scratch on my cowhide rugs, and I'm going to scratch her head off if she doesn't stop. Hey, that's a no. You know better. Thank you very much. So, Positive P, good to see you. What's up, Cheryl? So listen, no, I'm not coming back to Maryland. I don't like Maryland. I don't like up there, all those cities close to the White House where that energy is just emanating crazy. I can't. It upsets my energy. I love y'all though, up there that are up there. But I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. But there are a bunch of amazing, I miss y'all too. Let me say this. I do miss y'all. I'm sad that I can't continue to see my friends, my clients who became friends and family when I was up there. I mean, I miss y'all. I don't miss the place, but I miss y'all. Oh, we want to go straight into menopause tonight? Oh, shit. Okay, that's where you want to start? Let's start there. So the person who asked me, I forgot who just asked me that, about Maryland. You know, I have multiple affiliates in Maryland, in that area, who are just like amazing. So DM me so I can send you their information. Now, if I come up there and visit, you know what we gonna do? We gonna go somewhere, we gonna dance, we gonna drink, we gonna have fun. We're not gonna do anything serious. So listen, if I make a trip up there, then I will let y'all know. And we are going to have a big LFD just party. So I might actually do that. But, you know, we're not going to do any serious shit. We're not going to do that. All right. So we want to talk about, oh, wow. Okay. So we got two things on the books. We got menopause to start, and we talk about resetting the body by removing all supplements. Okay, very important. So those are the first two things. Let me explain this, y'all, when it comes to menopause. And when I say this, y'all are going to be like, oh, shit, there she goes talking to crazy. But I need y'all to work this out with me, okay? Menopause is not what we've been told that menopause is. Essentially, and remember, Camille likes to bring everything back to basics because that's the way the body was created. The body was created so perfectly on the inside that dumb humans who were never going to be able to figure it out could just use the logic of biology to assess what is happening on the inside of the body. Okay? Menopause, or what they call menopause, is the same problem that causes hyperhidrosis or excess swelling. It's the same problem that's caused when you see heavy-set men who sweat a lot. That's the same problem that actually what they call menopause is. Menopause lives in the head, not the body. The body is a side effect of what's going on in the head. The temperature controls for the body live in the back of the head, right at the occipital space, right on top of the neck, in between the ear filters, the mastoid sinus cavities. I keep telling y'all every single solitary week how important these mastoid filters are for your life. And I mean, you can almost trace everything back to these mastoid filters. Because if the mastoid filters are not clear, the water that is needed to cool the body cannot flow into the areas that need to be fed. Good to see you too, Sir Aaron. What's happening? So, when we're talking about menopause, I'm going to say a bunch of things about menopause. First of all, my women, if you wear a wig, Jesus, if you wear a wig every day, almost every day, if you have a weave on your head that is excess weight, and certainly as shit, if you glue a wig on your head, you should expect to have the symptoms that they call menopause. Okay? The skin is a very large organ. It's the biggest organ that we have. And it's one of the largest organs that exhales toxin. And one of the greatest, biggest, largest places that we exhale toxins besides the mouth is from the top of the freaking head. But if you have shit on top of the head, that is heavy, because everything outside of your natural hair weight is heavy to the natural state of the body. If you are covering this vent, this is a ventilation shaft. Hello? Ventilation shaft. It has to breathe out. It has to exhale. If you have something covering it all day, every day, you are causing massive stagnation of the flow of your water that sits on top of the head, that's going to increase your temperature and make you sweat. Yeah? So women who are told that they have problems like what they call menopause, and they're like, oh my God, it's related to hormones. Okay, yeah, but not all the way back. Y'all, where are hormones carried? Where are hormones regulated in the body? They're regulated in the lymph water. But if your lymph water is stuck because your mastoid is inflamed and you've got sitting water on top of your sagittal vein because you have a wig on it or you have excess weight on it, then you are going to have a problem regulating temperature. It's the same thing when you see heavyset men who have that great big, what looks like fat in the back of the head on top of their neck. That's not fat. That's water. And the water is not flowing through the mastoid, so it's dumping where? In the back of the head at that occipital space, which controls temperature, which is why men that you see have that sweat a lot. It's the same thing in menopause, which is why the temperature rises, why the main problems happen when you sleep and you wake up sweating. Because what happens, or what's supposed to happen when we're asleep, that's when the body does its heaviest detox. And why does it do its heaviest detox when we're sleeping? Because it doesn't have to regulate us talking, walking, thinking, eating, dealing with emotions. It is at a time where a lot of the natural, normal functions during the day aren't happening. So the body can concentrate on pulling from the inside. But if you're waking up sweating or hot at night or during the day when things happen and you're like, oh my God, why am I sweating? Because at that point, the body's lymphs need to process something, whether it's food, an emotion, particularly fear or anger. If these filters are not appropriately flowing, then that means the oxygen required to cool the body is also not flowing, and the body gets hot. It can't regulate its temperature. So just like so many other functions of the body need to breathe from here, that's what creates That's exactly what creates what they call menopause. Yeah. And they always say, well, I'm in perimenopause. What the hell does that mean? That doesn't mean anything except the body is getting to a point of slowing itself so that it is not balancing its hormones. They blame it on hormones. It's not a hormone problem. Well, it's kind of a hormone problem, but the hormones aren't the origin. It is an imbalance of those hormones, but the hormones flow through the lymphatic water. You all, when I say to you, water is life, I don't know how to say that except to just continue to repeat it. I don't know how many times I have to say that for us to understand what I mean. You can't breathe if your water's not flowing. You can't eat if your water's not flowing. You can't think if your water's not flowing. The cells can't communicate and signal to each other if the water's not flowing. When it comes to hormones, just like the oxygen in your body, don't free flow in air. The air is carried in water, right? So women, and I'm going to give you a test, okay? Women who are told that they suffer from what's called menopause, I want you to get used to feeling your head, okay? Because that's one thing that we don't do. And if you tell me, Camille, I don't want to take off my wig, well then burn up. Because that's what you're going to do. You have to be able. What do we think the skin is for, y'all? We have to be able to use our senses to assess what is happening in the body. We have to use our hands, our sense of smell, our sense of taste, our touch, our hearing, our visual cortex. We have to use those things, y'all. Computers and phones are killing it, but we have to use those. So those women who have been told that they are suffering through menopause, I want you to take off whatever is on your head. I don't care what it is. And I want you to start taking your fingers like this, yeah? And I want you to start feeling from behind your ears. You're going to spread your fingers behind your earlobe, right? And I want you just to rub in small circles behind the ear. And then I want you to rub towards the middle of your head, okay? From the earlobes to the middle of your head. Those women who have been told that they are suffering with menopause, when you get to the middle of your head, you are going to feel a bump right on top of your neck, a bump or a ridge or a hill that differentiates the base of your skull to your cervical spine on your neck. Go ahead and do that, particularly those of y'all who have been told that you have menopause. That bump, ridge, rise, mountain, whatever you want to call it, is not your skull. It is not. Oh, Luna Mars, you want me to repeat it? I froze on you. So if you have been told you have menopause, I want you to take your fingers behind your ears. I want you just to rub in circles from the back of your ears across the jugular vein on either side, all the way to the middle of your head, right on top of the cervical spine, which, if you're looking at a skull, is that little fall through at the base of your skull. If you feel a ridge, a bump, a little mountain, that is not your skull. That is years of calcified lymphatic mucus and lymph filtration that is stuck on top of the occipital lobe, which controls temperature. So if you are wearing or glue can we just for a minute? Because I need to say this, because I don't understand why people do it. Why in God's name? In other words, why in shit? Not that was shit, but you know, I want to say other things, unbelievable things. Why in the hell would you glue anything to the top of your head when follicles need to breathe because they're living, and the top of your head, on top of the skull, has a scalp, which is skin, which helps the follicles breathe and helps with blood flow? Why would you glue anything on top of that? That's like putting Botox in your face. You're putting a neurotoxic paralytic into something that needs to move. It doesn't make sense. Miss Naturalista says to be cute, but most of that shit ain't cute. Sorry. Sorry. Most of it's not. Most of it is not cute. What's beautiful is your own natural shit, but you know, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so the Queen, she says, I don't have any menopause symptoms, but I definitely have that hump and was always told by my parents that it was genetic. So, y'all, let me say this, okay? First of all, there is nothing genetic when it comes to the breakdown of the body. 1. 2, in order to say that anything is genetic, they need to test you at birth, right? They need to test you at birth. Otherwise, what they're looking for are mutations on genes, and mutations, by definition, are changes in natural biology. Stop letting these doctors tell you that stuff is genetic. Y'all just keep repeating dumb shit instead of saying, prove it to me. What do you mean? You mean I was born with that same mutation? Because when do they test for those mutations? When you're older. They don't test them at birth, right? They don't test them at birth. That's the only way they can tell you something is genetic. The next time you go to the doctor and the doctor tries to tell you that high blood pressure is genetic, I want you to ask them this question. What is the gene? What is the mutation? What is the number of the chromosome? And what is the name of the mutation? If they can't tell you that, then all they're doing is having you fill out a form that gives them the answer because you just told them that your mom, your dad, your grandmother all had high blood pressure. So instead of you being a blank slate, you give them the answer and then they work backwards. And then you sit on medication forever. We need y'all, just like y'all like to ask me to prove it to you, ask them to prove it to you. If they can't prove it to you, then they can't state it as fact. Now, when we're talking about something like they told you that that bump was genetic, let's talk about what they see as genetic predisposition, which is just stupid, right? It's just, if you break down that word, which I'm not going to do right now, but if you break down that word, it's dumb. However, remember what controls the body. The lymph water, right? The lymph water. The way the body functions is controlled by the lymph water. Where does your mother breed you? In the umbilicus or the belly button. Through what? The umbilical cord, which is what? Complete lymphatic replication from her to you. So if your mother had a propensity for a buildup of lymphatic fluid on the occipital lobe, she passed that directly to you, not in genes and molecules, in your lymph water. It's not a genetic predisposition. It's a lymph passing. That's all. And it's water, right? It's actually water. It's water. It's water. All right. So, are we finished with menopause? Not really, because you want me to tell you how to affect it, right? So, if you have what they call menopause, you're always worried about the sweating and the heat and all of these issues. So you have to very regularly massage your entire head. This whole skull is connected by the ears, right? All of the lymph vessels have to pass through these mastoid filters in order to feed you your oxygen, right? So if you're somebody who suffers from what they call menopause, you have to be very committed and consistent to making sure your waterways that carry your oxygen are open. You have to make sure they're open. That takes, of course, ingesting a lot of water, right? But that also takes manual manipulation of the calcified scar tissue that has been building year after year after year, getting on a vibration plate, increasing the amount of water that you drink, getting off the freaking phones for a couple hours at night, moving away from screens. All of the things that are blocked here dump into the middle of the head, which is why now what are they saying? When I was growing up, what they call menopause didn't happen until the late 50s, maybe into 60s. Now they're talking about women in their 30s in what they call pre-menopause, perimenopause. Come on, y'all. It's all environmental because they can't tell you where it's from. You go to the doctor, they tell you they're in menopause, right? You're in menopause. They can't tell you what the symptoms are from. They just say, oh, it's menopause. No. I need you to break down what that means because I can do it. I just did it. I just told you that the temperature controls are plugged and clogged and you have to open them. Done. All you have to do is try it. But y'all want to go and listen to people who can't give you origin, but they're going to give you the answer. They can't give you the beginning, but they're going to give you the end. Doesn't make sense, you guys. It doesn't make sense. I want you to look. You can Google the occipital lobe and see where it is and look at what's called the auricular or ear, excuse me, back up. The auricular lymph nodes to make sure that you are massaging the right places. You can even look at the sinus cavities that move through the head. You can look at the sagittal vein. Every vein and vessel is a place that has to carry water or blood, and blood is mostly water, but you have to keep those places open for a flow to happen. They keep telling y'all that the problem is the reproductive organs. No, the problem is the sinuses. The reproductive organs is another symptom of the clog of the mastoid sinus cavities in the head. Your body has to breathe, y'all, but your body has one head and it only breathes through the head, through the air that the sinus cavities flow through the water. So when you're talking about something like menopause, you can't talk about the body if the control centers are in the head, right? It's always about opening up what cools the body. What cools the body? The oxygen in the water. Where does the water start to flow from? Top of the head, right? How to heal IVDD in dogs. Your dog has IVDD? And for those of y'all who aren't reading, intervertebral disc disease. So let's talk about disc disease in any human or a dog, right? When we're talking about vertebra and we're talking about discs, we have to remember this for people and for animals. Our spines and all of our organs are suspended in water inside of the skin, which is why our skin acts like elastic. And if the water stops flowing, we can swell. And then if we have a good flow of water, then we lose. Yeah. So when they tell us that we either have degenerative disc or a herniated disc or any type of disc issue, it is a stagnation of the lymph water. So what has happened is that around the vertebra, whatever vertebra it is, whether it's cervical, lumbar, sacral, wherever it happens to be, the water in the lymph vessels around that particular vertebrae have stagnated somewhere. And because the lymphs use water to fix a blockage, the lymphs keep swelling around that vertebra. But what that does is it pushes the vertebra out of the way, or if they take an x-ray of it, remember they can't see running water in an x-ray. But what they can see is a stagnation of the minerals, which they call either a cystopolyp or a tumor, right? So it's not really a disease. It's a situation. It means that currently your dog's flow of its water is not moving enough, and it has moved vertebrae out of the way. When it comes to dogs, that's a very easy thing to fix. Damn, I don't have it with me. I'll have to show you later. My dogs love my salt rocks. The salt rocks that I talk about all the time, the LFD cleared ones, they love to be rubbed with that salt because the salt breaks down the salt that is stuck in those vessels that the vets see as disease. It's the same thing they do with Caesar. They're like, oh my God, we see this infection. No, what you see is an overflow of lymphatic filtration that for some reason isn't filtering. We simply need to reset that to let the filtration happen. Same thing in a dog. You don't give them any of that medicine, or certainly don't let them do surgery. The problem simply is you need to either massage, and you could do it with your hands. You can even do it with your knuckles. You can take your knuckles around the space where they say the vertebra has the issue and rub across that area. And you can actually feel the break in the lymph. It's not a break. I shouldn't say that. The opening of the lymph vessels, because they feel like these little jelly pockets, or like these little balls, right? That actually need to be rubbed across to open the vessel to pull out whatever that is, right? Is your dog in pain? Can you tell if your dog is in pain? You hear my dogs, they're like, so when we talk about anybody, oh yes, a friend's dog. Okay. So what, you hear them? See, you hear them? So that's for people too, right? We have to remember we are suspended in water. Inside of us, we are suspended in water. But in order for the perfection, just like the ocean, in order for the ocean to give us the oxygen needed from the phytoplankton in the ocean, the water has to flow. It's the same thing in the body. If there's no flow, there's no oxygen. If there's no flow, there's no blood. If there's no flow, there's no electrical current. Water is life in its natural state, its natural automation of flow, right? So I do not sell my rocks on Amazon. Mine actually come off my website, or in my TikTok shop. However, y'all know how I feel about TikTok. And I actually, said something about my rocks on TikTok and they went like that. So mine aren't going to be in stock until the weekend, probably. But you can get them off my website. Okay, so he's in pain. Again, we're going back to this dog. Sorry. So I'm telling y'all, very easy massage. Just like when we have pain in the body, before you actually start to move across the pain, I can't tell you how important our energy is. You can actually take, particularly for that dog, you can take your hand and place your hand on top of the vertebra wherever that dog is hurting, and you press for about 5 seconds first, and then you start to move across the vertebra where the pain is. Same thing on a person. Y'all, every time we feel pain, 100% of the time, 100% of the time, because the logic of the body is 100%. You can't change it. You can't diminish it. The logic of the body was created in perfection to operate the way it's supposed to, unless we fuck it up, which we do all the time. You cannot believe that the body was created to break down. Who said that? Humans who can't make a body, humans who can't even understand the way a body functions. So if we keep the body in its natural state of flow, the body can't get sick, right? And let me say this, when I say can't get sick, a lot of people think that that we holistics don't get attacked. I said we don't get sick. That doesn't mean that we don't get attacked by environmental issues. I just told y'all 2 weeks ago I had appendicitis, right? But for those of us who are holistic, we understand there is no human that's going to fix that. We have to reset the body to allow the body to fix itself from the inside out. That's the only difference. We holistics, we still get attacked by the air. We still get attacked by the terrible food. We just understand the body only heals from inside out, not outside in. So when we're talking about the flow of the body, if your body is in flow state all of the time, remember that the body's flow state is the natural filtration. So it's not like you can't get a headache or you're not supposed to get indigestion eating the food that they say is food. It's not that. It's that when and if those particular molecules come into a body, if your flow state is in flow, it's filtered out before it even affects you. That's the difference, y'all. That's the difference. We holistics are not telling you you shouldn't have an expectation to feel stuff. We're simply trying to teach you how to keep your body in flow state so when you are attacked, you never feel it. That's the difference, right? That's the difference. So whenever you feel pain, any and every time you feel pain, 100% of the time, 100% of the time that you feel pain, it is because your lymph water has been blocked or has slowed its flow or is requiring more water. It is 100% of the time related to water. Every time. Every time. And if you understand that the water carries mineral salt and the water carries electricity, and the water is what flows your blood, you will never ever be fearful about these stupid words that they call diagnoses. Why do you think they can't fix things? Why do you think they can't fix things? Why do you think that people that they tell have diabetes never get off their meds? Why do you think that they tell people who have high blood pressure, why do you think they never get off their meds? Why do you think it's been over 100 years and they can't find an answer to CSER? And now we got turbo CSER. So not only have you failed for 100 years to find an answer, you're failing so bad, now it's getting worse before you had an answer to the first shit. But this is what y'all want to, this is what y'all are scared to listen to. This. Or you would have been the person that went to the hospital and had your appendix removed instead of letting the appendix uninflame itself. Y'all know what the appendix does? Nope, because y'all don't even ask. And if you Google it, they don't know the answer either. And that's a simple thing you could do. Y'all go to the hospital because having appendicitis hurts. That shit hurts like hell. And I have a very high pain tolerance, but that shit hurt. But if you understand that that pain was a swelling of the vessels inside of the appendix wasn't the problem. The vessels in the appendix were the problem. And if you realize that, you don't get scared. You don't run to the hospital where all they're going to do is cut you up. Like you do know surgery is cutting you up, right? They cut you up. That's what they do. They slice you. Hibachi. That's what they do. What about that makes you think that's going to make you better? Like where is the logic? Where is the common sense? It has been killed, KILLED, by these damn phones and the internet and social media. Nobody is firing their synapses anymore. We're not even thinking. Y'all would rather go and let them hibachi you as a guess because they can't give you an answer. And then on the other side, you hope, one, that you survive, but two, that their cutting you up is going to solve a question they couldn't ask in the beginning. Y'all, where is the connection? Where is the, like, this is gone. It's gone. So we have to know, instead of being fearful, we have to use logic. But if you're scared, you don't think. And if you think, you do dumb stuff. You let them do dumb stuff to you if you're not thinking. But you have to be able to think in order to save your life. Otherwise, you're going to be on surgery number 3, 4, 7 with 3 or 4 less organs than is required for your body to even function. Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on. Come on. We can't. We can't. We can't. Because at least for me, I love y'all too much. I mean, the more of y'all leave this planet, you know, the weaker the universal connection gets. So we need to do something a little bit better, right? Oh, good. Ritsit said, I've used the Salt Rock on my Maltese's ACL. I love it. And is the ACL better? That's what I used. They told me my dog would need surgery. And I was like, hell no. No, he won't. And I used the salt. And literally, I can show y'all the x-ray. The x-ray in a week, you could see the swelling in the water. And it looked as if the bone was moved. Oh, we're going to talk about that too. I need y'all to stop letting them tell you that you broke a bone because you fell. It's bone. It's calcified bone, which they're still digging up like tens of thousands of year old bones, but your bone broke because you fell off a curb? No. What happens is the lymph vessels around the bones, because remember, there are joints. Yes, there are joints, and those joints are suspended in water. So when there's trauma, like a fall, those vessels swell significantly, pulling or pushing the bone off its joint, off its axis. Because proven by this, if they tell you break a bone, yeah, if they're not doing surgery on you, then what do? They put you in a cast, right? They put you in a cast for 8 to 12 weeks. What are they actually doing? They're compressing that water back in space so the joint heals. If it really was about a calcified bone that broke in half, you think that shit would heal in 8 to 12 weeks? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on. We have to ask more questions. Right? We have to ask more questions. Just because the information that we are hearing, we were told that we had to listen to, that's no, that's not the case. So for that little dog, the vet prescribed steroids. Let me talk about steroids real quick. Steroids don't work, people. Steroids are a distraction for what is happening in the body. Let me prove it to you this way. When the body has trauma, right? The antibodies that are sent, the stem cells that are created and sent to then fix the cells in a particular area of trauma, are sent in the lymph water, right? But because the lymph water uses water to fix a problem, the symptoms come from the swelling of the water. So the lymph vessels are busy, right? The lymph system is busy. Steroids are so toxic to the body. When you ingest them and they're putting to the body, the lymph system says, holy shit, what is that? They leave what they were doing because they have to send the whole army to the steroid to try to get it out of the body. Which is why what? Steroids only last temporarily because they don't even last. And then what do they do if you take them a long time? They make you swell and gain weight. Why? Because they are toxic to the lymph system. And when the lymph system is trying to fix itself, it swells. That's the proof right there. You're going to listen to your doctor? That's not what happens. I'm looking at myself. How are you telling me that's not what happens? How are you actually telling me that's not what happens? Because your book and the AMA says that's what you're supposed to say. But there is no logic in science, y'all. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that. If there was logic in science, why would they ever give you a narcotic to make you feel better? When they tell those people who sell narcotics that are in jail that they will kill you, that definition doesn't change. Just because a doctor gives it to you, you gotta open this. You gotta open the brain. So many of y'all are so focused on your annual physicals. That's the reason you're gonna be sick forever, is because the only time you think about yourself is one day a year when you go ask another person how your body's been telling you how you feel every single day. Biological. Biology is logical. It is not scientific. Science tells you to take narcotics, which are going to shut down your organs to make you better. Logic says that's really stupid. Y'all, I mean, it's a lot simpler than Rockefeller made it. Rockefeller spent millions in the 1900s. That's how much money he spent in the 1900s to get rid of holistic docs, which were actually healing people. And he spent millions to create the AMA and the medical schools to completely control what doctors do, which is to not think logically, but only follow what the AMA and now the insurance companies say. That is to your detriment every single time, because you are not the goal and neither is your healing. Period. That's just what they learn. And I feel bad for doctors because they want to help us. That's why they spent all this time and money in school. But they were not taught. No class, no curriculum on nutrition, no curriculum on exercise, no curriculum on alternatives to meds, no curriculum on alternative to surgery, none of that. Only focus on meds and surgery. Why do you think when you go to the doctor, that's the only thing you hear? Because that's the only thing they know. That's the only thing they were taught. And then they get punished to think outside the box. So if they're not thinking and you're not thinking, you're going to be a really sick person who's on like 8 different meds with 14 different diagnoses. You don't know which way is up and neither do they. It's just that, right? Yes, Henry, I am out of the rocks. I know. TikTok took me out. They took all my stones. So hopefully, my people in Pakistan told me they should be here this weekend. So, I'll let y'all know when I do that. But yeah, they bought me out pretty quick. What about inflammation, pain in the stomach? Yeah. So let's talk about that first. I want everybody to readjust the way they think, right? So you asked about pain in the stomach. I want everybody to start speaking this. Instead of saying pain in the stomach, I want you to say pain in the abdomen, because every organ in the abdominal cavity is connected by the same lymph vessels, same lymph tracts, which is why they are in front of, on top of, right underneath each other in that small space. So when you're talking about pain and inflammation in the stomach, there's no difference between stomach pain and uterine pain. There's no difference between liver pain and pancreatic pain. It's all the same thing, right? Firstly. Secondly, then you have to tell me this. Are we talking cramping? Are we talking throbbing? Are we talking nausea? Are we talking, when we talk about things that are happening, in order to help you, you have to be very descriptive about what you say. So when you say pain, pain is a very general word, right? For me, to help you assess what you mean, I would need to know what type of pain. Stabbing pain, sharp pain, throbbing pain, nausea. Does it happen all the time? Does it only happen when you eat? Does it only happen when you eat certain things? Have you been drinking water? So when we're talking about trying to break down what's happening to us, we need to be cognizant enough to know those particular things, because it's those signals that your body is going to give you that's going to tell you what is actually happening. So when you say inflammation pain, all pain is inflammatory. That's why it hurts, because it is inflamed. It is on fire, but it is on fire because the water has stopped flowing and the oxygen that runs through that water isn't running to cool it. Okay. So pain is always water, but I need to know what type of pain. How often do you feel it? Does it ever stop? Is there anything that makes it better? All of these questions that I'm asking should be the type of questions that your doctor asks you, because you're the only person who can answer those. And if they don't, you're in trouble, right? Because there's no way I could say to a person, oh yeah, you have this type of pain, but you don't have a gallbladder, you don't have a pancreas, you might be missing a kidney. That's a different type of pain than you have stabbing pain when you eat meat. You get what I'm saying? So we have one issue that would cause pain that's scar tissue based. We have another issue that's food based. The origin is still the same because it's a lymphatic inflammatory problem. But what is it that's causing the inflammation in the limbs? So tell me that so I can help you do that. Oh, hey Camille, have you been getting people this week having a dry cough? What is going on? I'm not sick, just a slight dry cough. Yeah, a lot of people. You looked up in the sky lately? They've been spraying supremely heavy. These drastic changes in weather. So what happens is, remember, we are in an atmosphere full of moisture. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's in our house. It's in our closet. Water is everywhere. That is what the barometric pressure is in the air. But we have to remember that our frequency is balanced in the water that we carry in the lymphs, which is directly affected by the balance of the water in the air. If they're spraying on a super heavy day and those metal molecules are affected by 5G really heavy, like yesterday or earlier today, was it yesterday? Yesterday, here in Georgia, I actually took a picture of it when you could see what looks like clouds in the sky and they have this very, very even, jagged pattern. That's because they're spraying molecules of metal and things like aluminum in the air, and that vibrational frequency is affected by 5G. But when they do that heavy, our water on the frequency in the water of our lymph system gets very chaotic, and the water almost, instead of it flowing, becomes like this staccato movement, which makes us try and breathe by coughing, but it's a very dry cough. That's directly related to the air. Directly, and a lot of people are going through that right now. A whole lot of people. And then they're like, oh my God, it's about to be spring. We're not allergic to outside, y'all. Molecularly, we are made up of the same outside that outside is. We can't be allergic to ourselves. Stop letting them tell you you're allergic to grass and shit and trees. That shit's been there since before us. We're not allergic to that. Your body just can't process it through your thoracic lymphatic space. So that dry cough, that's the air. So what you should be doing, if that's the case, is, of course, hydrating with more water. But you can also take a couple teaspoons of honey during the day. Listen, you could drink mullein leaf tea. You could Eat some garlic cloves. There are so many natural things that you could do to stimulate the movement of your lymph water. You can drink all types of tea. There are so many different supplements and everything. Going back to your question, Ms. Crawford, that's a reminder that you can do. But that's directly related to what we are ingesting in the air and how your body processes it. And if you've got a really dry cough like that, or a cough at all, in between the breasts here, underneath the clavicle bone, is what's called your thoracic space. This is what they call the bronchial tubes. They're not bronchial tubes, they're lymph vessels, right? So you could take your knuckle, and with medium to firm pressure, you're going to take your fist on this side, and you are going to pound across your thoracic duct, right? Because what you're doing is creating like this little mini explosion of your lymphs that's allowing the blockage to move, right? And then what you should probably do under that is lift the breasts and then just massage under the breast, because you're just stuck there, right? Miss Naturalista, you're asking, can you use a percussor on the dog? Yeah, if they let you. My dog hates the percussor, so I can't I can't use that on them. However, my dog does love, both of them love the wood tools, the rollers that look like rolling pins. There are some that have these little mini like spikes on them. They love that. They don't like the vibration, but they do love the roller. And so if your dog lets you use it, if their dog lets them use it, absolutely they can use it. See, Angel Diva says she's been coughing today and don't even know why. I'm telling y'all, because they have been on a mission. They've been on a mission. And when they are spraying heavy and then they turn up the volume on that frequency, here comes that cough. That cough will come. They want to give you steroids for stomach inflammation. Okay, so let's go down this road because this is going to be interesting. Okay, they want to give you steroids for stomach inflammation. Here's my first question. What stomach inflammation? From what? How did they assess it? What is it that made them call it stomach inflammation? And where did it come from? And did they even ask you any of these questions? Because if they didn't, how in the shit are they going to know that steroids are what you should take? What made you go to them in the first place? What symptoms were you experiencing, if any? Or did they take your blood and then tell you you had stomach inflammation then and they want to give you steroids? Renee says, just had a client with pain all over. Doctors did an MRI and a CAT scan. They can't see anything. So immediately I knew it was a lymph problem. They can't see water. That's right, y'all. They cannot see water in an X-ray, an MRI, a CAT scan. But what's amazing is they can, but they don't know it's water. Have you ever looked at the results, the active results of an MRI? And when they're looking at the MRI, you know the scan changes and moves while they're watching it? Because it's water. But they weren't taught that it's water. So they don't know that's what they're looking at. That's the danger, y'all, of doctors not being able to use logic. They're punished for using logic. The MRI proves to you that there's water surrounding the brain. But they don't know that's what they're looking at. All they're looking at are for places that light up. And what lights up? The minerals, the radioactive minerals inside of our water. Because you do know we are electromagnetic frequency on the inside. That's what our electrical current is. That's why EMF radiation makes us sick. Because if you radiate EMF and it comes out of balance, it goes a little nuts. So what Donnie asked me about with that dry cough, they use 5G to radiate the metal that they spray. That is direct EMF radiation. And what happens is our lymph water becomes staccato and we can't function. That's EMF radiation right there, right? So they look at an MRI and they're like, oh my God, you have a tumor. Well, no, I don't. No. Do you know what you're looking at? They just told you to look at white space. Can you tell me what the white space is? No, you don't know what it is. You were just told that that's what you're supposed to say when you see it. No, I need you to back it up for me, homie. I need you to tell me how, what, why, when, where, all of that. If you can't tell me all of that, there's nothing you could tell me that can help me. So everything that you all need to think about is your water, right? Is your water. Is your water. Yep, lots of chemtrails. That's what'll do it. That will definitely do it. All right, have I noticed a lot of chemtrails in the sky? Have y'all? And they spray differently, right? They spray, I thought they sprayed super heavy here. But the other thing that happens, y'all, is they spray different chemicals. In Atlanta, they spray like shit. I mean, they spray all day, every day, all the time. But there are breaks here where we get to see the sun. When I go up to DC and the DMV area, y'all never see the sun. And it's not even, you can't see the sun like we do down here, which is why I don't like coming back up there. Y'all have this very constant, persistent haze that's super thick. It's the same thing they did years ago in San Diego, where they sprayed viruses, in San Francisco, where they sprayed viruses to see how people would be affected. Same thing they're doing. Same thing they're doing. Because here's the other thing, y'all. Remember what month is about to happen. What month? It's about to be March. What happened in March 2020? People were mysteriously ill, and then all of a sudden, scandemic. They already said 2025 was going to be the next scandemic. They got to make enough people sick mysteriously so that they can release the scam. And even that, y'all, how in the hell do you forecast a pandemic? You can't, right? If it's a virus, there's no way you can forecast how that joker will spread unless you have manipulated that virus to know how it will spread. Come on, y'all. It's just like the weather. Y'all actually believe that they can forecast the weather? You actually believe that man can forecast Mother Nature? Not unless they're manipulating it. You can't forecast anything you can't recreate unless you have manipulated it to be able to forecast it. Viruses, the weather, all of that. And y'all just keep falling in line like they want you to. So it's about that time, right? It's about that time where they get ready to release this flu. They're trying to release that now. Now they're saying it's in beef. It's y'all, don't let them take you down this road again, please. Because some of y'all right now, are dealing with the fallout with you not thinking the first time. And now you're sick. And now you can't figure out why you can't get better. Because you allowed yourself to jump off a bridge because you didn't want to ask any questions. Don't let them do that again. Because it will take you out this time. There's no second chance in that, right? I'm asking your thoughts on BPC and NADs because everybody's on this this craze. Americans are like, we're such followers. Okay, so I'm going to say this about all cellular nutrition and all people. There is no way that you can successfully follow a trend when it comes to healing your body without knowing where your body is. There are thousands of supplements, herbs, plants that you can take for your body that would work in great combination for you. But if you are not aware of where your body is deficient, it doesn't matter what you do. So so our NAD is great. Yes, it's cellular, it's ribonucleic cellular food, but so are a gazillion plants and a gazillion teas and a gazillion herbs. And people just sometimes need to sit back and say, okay, there are 102 minerals in the body, which is what controls the function of the lymph water and whether or not my body functions well. So how do I eat? Do I get enough minerals, enough of this type of minerals? Do I eat well enough to feel like I supplement my mineral intake? Or is my problem the movement of the water? Or is my problem something else? So in any supplement that people are looking at taking, do enough research to find out whether or not you're even deficient in what that particular supplement actually is supposed to do for you. And if you were smart, you could just make it easy. Because if you had the Solex software that we keep telling y'all to get, you can simply scan yourself and know where you're deficient. And you could create your own supplements based on any symptom or diagnosis that you like. So you always have to start with you, right? You can't start with the trend first and say, oh, that means I'm going to be younger and I'm going to have a lot more energy. Wait a minute. What is your problem? What is your problem with your energy anyhow? Is it that you only sleep 1 hour a night? Is it that you don't exercise? Is it that you eat nothing but carbs and sugar all day? So even if you took something like a cellular product like NAD, if your body is not in a state to process that well, it's not going to do anything for you. So you have to know where you are at all times, which is the point of having the Solex software, because that software, you can scan yourself instantaneously and always be aware of where you are. But all of those other trends, I mean, there are a million things that work, right? But you have to know if your body's in a state to make that work or not. There may need to be some work that you need to do in order for you to take a particular supplement, which, by the way, Ms. Crawford, I'm going to answer your question. We can OD on supplements, just like we can OD on narcotics. We can OD on supplements. Taking too many supplements could be detrimental, like taking too many prescription drugs. And I don't mean harmful like a narcotic way. What I mean is you can overload the process of your body by taking too many supplements at once. One, how do you even know what supplement is working if you're taking 12 of them? How do you even know that? That's why I keep telling people that you either want to start scanning yourself, or you want to just start slowing down every day and paying attention to how you feel and assessing what food does to you. But if you're eating too much too fast and you're eating all day, you have no idea what food is doing to you. You have no clue. And if you are somebody that has now added a gazillion supplements to yourself, which is what Americans do a lot, especially now, because TikTok says today, take this, and then tomorrow, take this, and then the next trend, take this. And then just like when the whole oil of oregano thing started, and then Americans take that shit and run, and then they overload themselves and make themselves sick. So when you are at a point where you've got a gazillion supplements and something is wrong, or you notice that something isn't right, I agree, Miss Crawford, stop taking them all. Stop taking them all. And start at the base where your body needs it, because there are also supplements that are going to be redundant. So you have to know yourself enough to know where you're deficient and focus on where your deficiencies are instead of listening to what the world says, because no supplement is going to work the same for every person. Everybody's in a different state all the time, period. A different state of being, I mean. What is your view on parasites, staph, and strep? Okay. Let me say this about parasites, people. We will never be without parasites. Ever. Particularly in the United States. We eat them, we breathe them. If we have animals, we have them. We are always going to have parasites. You are never going to be completely parasite free. The deal is, if your water is flowing, your water filters them all the time. But listen, when you go outside, you know part of what they're breathing, what they're spraying outside has parasites in them, right? In the molecules of shit that they're spraying in the air. So you cannot focus on just getting rid of the parasites, because parasites aren't the problem. Remember, parasites thrive in an anaerobic environment. What does that mean? That means the oxygen isn't high. Well, then what carries the oxygen? Your lymph water. Again, back to the water, which is why I tell you to get the scanning software. The scanning software from day to day will tell you which parasites are present and which ones aren't. It scans everything. So we will not be without parasites. We will not be without staph. We will not be without strep. The idea is the system of water was put into the body so that all of those things that come into the body are instantly filtered out if the automation is moving. That's the point. So I want, when people are talking about wellness and what kinds of things to do or not do, we cannot avoid what makes us sick. Unless you put yourself in a bubble, unless you become the little boy or girl in the bubble, there is no way that you can avoid what makes you sick. Because if you do, you would never go outside, you would never put on clothes, you would never get in the shower, you would never eat anything that you could eat, you would never be around any other person, you certainly wouldn't have animals. We can't avoid any of it, y'all. Stop making it difficult. Some of y'all are sick because you're so concerned about all of these 6 million different things you're trying to avoid. Stop doing that. Work smarter, not harder. Concentrate on the movement of your lymph water, because if your water is flowing, none of that shit matters, because it goes in and the water filters it out, because the water doesn't know what else to do. It doesn't know what else to do. The only thing your body knows how to do is heal itself until you stop that process. So if you concentrate on all of the things, and there are a billion things that you can do to stimulate your water, that is all you need to think about. That's it. Because if the system is working, if the ocean is flowing, we have oxygen, we have sun, we have the moon, we have all of that. If the water is flowing, can you imagine what would happen to the earth if the water stopped flowing? If the oceans stop flowing? Dead, dying, because the phytoplankton at the bottom of the ocean is what actually gives us our oxygen through the salt. Hello? Just like inside of us, we're the same thing, right? We are the ocean. So we have to make sure that the flow, it is not a coinky dink that our organs look like trees, that fruits and vegetables look like particular organs. It is not a coinky dink that we internally function like the ocean. Y'all, it's right there. And y'all are like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. Narcotic, like little robots. You need to think, right? Reason on the BPC injection, my hands are beyond in pain 100% of the time. You use golf balls on them and it does ease up. So when we're talking about hands are controlled by the lymphs in the elbow. Yeah. All of these little these little veins you see in your hands, all lymph vessels that start here, right? So people who have a lot of pain, carpal tunnel, neuropathy in their hands, that is because the lymph vessels in the elbow are not flowing well, right? So anybody who has something like that, you want to do things like taking your knuckles and rub across the elbow, and you'll feel almost what feel like ridges at the base of the elbow. But the ridges, the body should always be smooth. If you feel those ridges or bumps, that is a stagnant lymph vessel that's going to go right into the hands and give you pain in the hands, right? Ms. Velez, what's happening, my dear? Question. My mom had hernia surgery years ago. Since then, her stomach has exploded, and now she has no feeling in her stomach. When you work on her, will she regain the feeling in her stomach? First of all, you see that question? That's why I host my certifications, y'all. Miss Naturalista is about to take my class next week so that she can actually heal her family. So when you all are asking about my certifications, that's why I do it, so that you all can learn things and be able to heal your family. So my July class, y'all, I think only has 2 more spots left. And then I have November. So let's talk about a hernia, please. Let me tell you what a hernia is. A hernia is not a problem in the muscle. The hernia happens when the lymph vessels in, around, behind the muscle become inflamed, and they expand through the muscle. And then they're like, oh my God, you have a hernia. No, you don't. You have lymphatic swelling, right? So then what do? They go in and they repair the hernia. Have you ever asked a doctor how they repair a hernia? No, you haven't, have you? That would be a fun answer, right? So what they do when they go and repair a hernia is they actually traumatize the muscle by shrinking and sewing it. But there was no problem in the muscle. So what they've now done is actually created more trauma on top of where an initial trauma was, and the explosion in your mother's stomach is now years of inflammatory post-operative scar tissue that's causing her stomach to explode, right? Because the problem in the first place was that she had a stagnation in the lymphs. But then when they went and cut into the body, they cut through the lymph vessels, and they always pull out lymph nodes, whether they see them or not, because they're everywhere. And now your mom has even less lymphatic ability to heal than she did before what they called the hernia. So yes, when one of the things that we will work on that you learn in the certification is to how to get rid of that post-operative scar tissue. So yeah. So y'all, if they can't tell you the problem in the body, I don't know why you'd let them cut the body. Because that's literally the definition of experimentation. They can't tell you the problem, but they're just going to go in and try it and try and fix the problem. Dude, you can't tell me how I got something. You certainly as hell can't tell me how to fix it, right? You can't. So yes, we will work on that post-operative stuff and get your mama fixed. Are the stem cells good for coughs? The stem cells are good for everything. The stem cells are good for everything. Yes, coughs, all of that. Is there a way to take the certification if you can't be away 4 days? Not really. I wish there was, right? But a lot of the majority of what we learn in practicality. We learn because we're actually healing each other, and we are being healed because everybody gets worked on and everybody works on everybody else, so that you have an absolute practical application. You're actually seeing in real time what you're learning. So unfortunately, there isn't a way to take it without being able to be gone, which is why I kind of do it like on a late Wednesday. My twin is on. What's up? Which is why I do it like on a late Wednesday afternoon into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. So it's like I try not to take too much time. But the deal is we literally create a healing bubble. And that's the other thing. We completely separate ourselves from the frequency out there in the healing space for those 4.5 days. So when you do that, it's a whole different mindset. Like we are completely separated from the deadly frequencies outside, which strengthens our ability to heal in the class. And it's a very different experience. Oh, yes. Can I share the stem cell? Yes. All right. I will pin the stem cell. There it is. Twin. What's happening? Cynthia said, I'm so into separating myself from the damn frequency. No, like for real, you guys. And I'm not doing this to toot my own horn. And you can ask any of my affiliates that are on the call. It's such an energy boost and an energy strengthening that almost takes you out of this world almost. It's very different. And I probably will not ever go away from it being 4.5 days. We're all in the same Airbnb. It's a different mindset, right? Because when you leave different, but you leave different because you are set up in a space with others who are literally connected to the same energy and desire to heal. That's a different feeling. To be around people like that and to be separated from the rest of the bullshit, it's a different thing. It is a very different thing, and people leave there changed, and that's the point. Oh, Erica says the certification changed my life and everyone in my life. It's so much more than can be explained. I so love you for that. So yeah, so unfortunately I cannot, I thought about it at one point. Was there part of what I could do virtually, but I can't. It's some different stuff, right? It is definitely some different stuff. So, my dears, okay, I need to say this right now, and then I got to get off. So, y'all know how I feel about TikTok, right? It is such it is a great place to learn things, but it is an absorption of your energy that is something is different. However, it is a place that a lot of people go to learn, right? And I have had a gazillion people reach out to me on TikTok, right? And I can't even answer all of the things that people want to know. So I have, starting tomorrow, have to start a subscription on TikTok for people that's like $12 a month. I think $20, maybe. I don't know. I have to ask my assistant. But we meet live on TikTok 2 weeks out of the month. So it's 2 lives out of the month. And that subscription is limited to 500 people. I cannot do, for those of you who know, TikTok moves very fast. So it's not like it's not the exclusivity of the Logical Wellness group that we have that meets twice a month. But what it is it's a community space where every week that we're on, we're talking about another topic, another disease. I drop tools, different therapies that people can use. And we will be a community that shares information because that's what TikTok is. And I'm telling y'all first, because once that happens, once 500 is met, I can't go above that, because it will be too much. And we want to make sure that we get to people when they have questions. And they will be the only ones on TikTok. The people who are part of the subscription, the community will be the only people on TikTok who will get their DMs answered. My assistants will be answering whatever questions you have, just because we need to make this bigger, right? Getting people to use their brains is going to shut down the system. And that's what we're trying to do. But I had to tell my IG family first, because it's probably going to go very quickly once I say it. And I haven't said it on TikTok yet. I'm going to say it on Friday. But you all will know first that if you want to be a part of that subscription, it starts tomorrow. But I'm not telling TikTok until Friday. And no, I am not leaving here, right? So a lot of what we do here is general information, and we kind of have conversations about a lot of stuff. The subscription on TikTok every week is going to be a different focus, right? It's going to be a different focus, but it's not going to be an exclusive where you personally can say, okay, how am I going to fix myself? And what am I going to do? We're getting general information to start changing people's mindsets and giving people habits to do so that they can do what Miss Naturalista is doing and healing their family, right? It's mainly for people who do not live where either myself or any of my affiliates live, and they want some of this information. But 500, that's it. Once it gets to that, it's gone. And there's a lot of people on TikTok. And I did not want to do regular lives on TikTok. That's the other reason I'm doing it. Because that would drive me crazy. People on TikTok are like needy. So I will be starting that on Friday, but you guys, if you want to be a part, can sign up tomorrow. But I am not leaving my IG because y'all are awesome and y'all don't drain my energy like they do. Y'all don't drain my energy. But that's really for people who want quick information. They want quick information and they don't want to sit on a live like this, and they want to get like the Cliff Notes version. That's what that's going to be for. So y'all can sign up like tomorrow, but they can't sign up to Friday. So, Maya, I will check your message, love. So, my dears, great call. Great questions. I'll see y'all on next week. Yeah, I'll see y'all next week. Miss Naturalista, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. But remember, am I going to give y'all homework tonight? Let me see. Rachie Rockaby, what's up, love? Am I going to give you homework? Let's see. What did we talk about today? I always want to give you homework. Yeah. No. This is your homework. And particularly for the women who asked about menopause, but for everybody, I want you just to take 1 minute. Take 1 minute. 1 minute every night. 1 minute. 1 minute every night. Take your knuckles. Place this part of your knuckle against your skull, behind your ears. I want you to just squeeze. And while you're squeezing, give yourself about a minute. It feels amazing, right? Those of you who are not like affiliates and people who have been with me for a long time, I want you to just do this in small to medium circles from the back of your ears all the way to the occipital lobe in the middle of your head. I want you to do that every night until next week. And then I want you to tell me how your week went. And I mean across the board. But I want you to pay attention to yourself. When I say I want you to tell me how your week went, I don't want you to tell me one thing. I want you to tell me what happened to your energy and your sleep and your emotions and your concentration. I want you to pay attention to yourself across the board, because when things happen, we only want to go to that one place. We only want to go to that one thing, but your body is a comprehensive unit. You have to pay attention to it comprehensively. If you can't, then you're never going to get better, right? So I'm going to take menopause in the backyard and fight her. Miss Bella, as I'm saying, start doing this. Look, Aaron Mack said I was doing it this morning sitting at the stoplight. And people were looking at me like I'm crazy. Listen, while I'm in the car in traffic, I have one of my salt rocks and I'm literally rubbing my face. I may be reshaping my nose or maybe like my jaw and I'm rubbing my chin. And I know people, today I passed this cop and I knew he thought that I was on my phone, but I had my salt and I was like rubbing it here on the side of my face. I'm telling y'all, if you keep the flow going, the oxygen never stops. If the oxygen never stops, then your body can't get sick. That simple. Love y'all. See you next week.